Welcome back. In this video I would like to share the minimalist choices I do when setting up a backpack for one-day hike. This video does not claim to be exhaustive, its purpose is to show a personal point of view. This video outlines the classical subject related to the typical question on what to put in the backpack, avoiding those gears that, because of the nature of the trip, will remain unused. I start from the assumption that you plan the trekking on the map and you know or you are informed about the area you are going to explore. And last but not least, you know how to read the map and use it together with the compass. This video does not take into account any possible emergency situation, and the approach is very minimalist. If I move alone, I always respect three elementary rules. I leave a copy of the trip to my family members. I never change my destination on the go. I leave if and only if I am in good health. I wear strong and long trousers, with wide side pockets, strong and long sleeved shirts, double socks to prevent blisters and the good brand boots with vibrant soles. As far as the one-day hike is concerned, I split the stuff into different sets, basic gear with food and subsidiary equipment strictly connected to the intrinsic characteristics of the trip. Skilled people will say I'm going to tell obvious things. But I try to imagine a novice, a young who is looking for information that could compare this video with many others shared on YouTube in order to set up a backpack that could match his needs. So, let's see in detail what's in my backpack and what I use it for. I never leave without hat and sunglasses. They are very useful to protect your head and eyes from both ultraviolet radiation and breeze or wind. I carry a cellular phone in my pockets, switch it off, useful when in trouble. It's an historical model by Nokia, strong, reliable, with the long-lasting batteries, and with an integrated flashlight. Around my neck, under the shirt, I put a whistle to signal possible emergencies. I must confess that these two items had always been silent companions. In fact, I never had the chance to use them. But you know that troubles may arise suddenly, so I never live without them. A compass and a detailed map of the area I go hiking into find their place in the side pocket, so that I can find them quickly. This compass has the classical mirror used for targeting, but it also comes useful for visual signaling, simply reflecting the sunlight. In the upper pouch of the backpack, I store an headlight, usable in the unlikely event I made mistakes calculating the duration of the trip, finding myself to walk after the sunset in the dark. It may happen, and sometimes could be an interesting experience, but it would be better to avoid it. Even skilled people can have trouble in the dark, walking in a wood or along a mountain path. A small digital device, like this camera, finds room in the upper pouch as well. In my opinion, it helps to trace the memory of the hike. I often carry a good binocular to look at the landscape. A good folding saw, just like this one, generally speaking, is useful to make some multifunctional sticks, but only because I'm not too much familiar with telescopic walking poles. Have got a pair one, but I use them only when I like to go faster, doing activities like Nordic walking without backpack. This folding saw is very efficient. It cuts wood with minimal effort, as you can imagine looking at the teeth. It comes handy to open up a passage in case I find fallen trees or tangles of vegetation along the trail. This might happen at the opening of the trekking season because of winter snow or early spring windstorms. Moving away those obstacles is a praiseworthy work. It means to keep clean the paths that are a common heritage. Some feet of cordage might be useful for ties to replace laces of the boots or shoulder strap of the backpack, to tie the poncho to your body in case of wind, to make loops to fix sticks to the wrist. Like my father told me several times, try to find or just imagine other uses. I never go out without carry several pieces of cordage. I put in my pocket a sharp folding knife, useful for small works. This model is an opinel, very common in my region between shepherds, farmers, hunters and trekkers. To me, it also comes handy at lunchtime. In my case, I get satisfied with 3 well-filled sandwiches, but I also carry fruit juice and cereal cookies with coquilla beans or small chunks of fruit. I use them during breaks. It's quite clear I belong to the ancient school, so I avoid to carry energy bars, Gatorade or similar artificial food. But you must choose what better meet your preferences and budget. In any case, avoid leaving garbage in the wood, inside the shelters, or in the top of the mountain. These photos will depict what I mean and show the education of some asshole Italian trekkers. Food can be stored in convenient plastic bags or inside the box, which avoid food to be compressed during the hike. Please feel free to choose what for you is the best solution. A small box, once empty, can be used to collect and preserve wild fruits or parts of official plants, but only if local laws permit harvest of wild plants. 1 gallon of water per person is enough. It's a trekking that cannot degenerate in a spasmodic search of a water source. I found convenient a couple of plastic bottles that, once empty, can be crunched, but also canteens can be used. This depends on your choice, but be sure to have a good stock of water. Depending on the season, it's possible to carry also a thermos filled with hot beverages, but avoid alcoholics. The warm sensation they give is ephemeral. In my opinion, you can drink alcoholics after dinner in a mountain shelter, but not when you walked for miles. In the upper pouch of the backpack, I also store a pair of extra socks I wear at the end of the hike, in place of those I use all day long. A poncho finds room inside the backpack as well, and is the best solution when it's rainy, to protect both body and backpack. I place a windproof jacket on the backpack, so it is always ready to be used. A pullover made of pile, a pair of gloves, and a wool hat that could cover my ears, together with a bandana to protect the neck, are accessories garments I carry only if I know to go higher than 3,000 feet, or the season is still chilly. Who suffers from cold may carry them in any season. When it's windy in the mountains, in the wood, as well in some exposed valleys, the body temperature creeps down quickly, so I suggest to dress extra close to avoid catching a cold during breaks or a congestion from cold after lunch. This backpack conforms to my back. It has padded shoulder strap and lumbar belt. I use it during the more challenging trip in the mountains. It has enough room to store all the described, and there is a lot of spare space to carry other gear or equipment. As a matter of fact, this is what I need for one-day trekking, but sometimes I need to add more stuff. When I face very challenging trails, like a long loop path on the Alps, experience leads me to consider what I call unexpected events, not only along extremely difficult ways, but also along difficult ways. Only when I go facing those trails, I leave with in mind the chance to cope with the keep routes, also known as climbing routes. When hiking on the Dolomites, off the beaten tracks, but also on Maritime and Cotswold Alps, I found myself in front of extremely exposed or collapsed paths, generally equipped by volunteers of the association with steel ropes, iron rods driven into the rock in place of the path, or steel stairs attached to the cliff. You can deal with them. I did it several times with my wife and son since he was 5 years old, but you must be careful. For this reason, at the bottom of the backpack that I can open with a zip, I put the bag containing the harness, 2 quick draws, a couple of rappel devices or descenders, some HMS and speleology carabiner, a couple of slings or runners, and some specific lines to realize several kinds of notes. At the end, I insert the rock climbing shock absorber. Today, I do not give any specific explanation about this kit and gears, because I want to avoid that any mistake in my speech might transmit wrong concepts or information. Outside the backpack, I hook up a coil of dynamic rope. It's an extra weight, I must admit it, and I use it very seldomly, most times as complementary tools of safety for my son, while moving along dangerous climbing routes, or when walking on extremely exposed paths or slopes, where I prefer to tie anyone who shows some worry. Sometimes I carry this rope during the trekking in the woods. I pass it around the tree and I use the doubled rope to go down a slope to shorten my way back home. I don't suggest to do like me, of course. Only during the trip on the mountain, I carry an analog altimeter barometer. I use it to check my height together with the map or to notify any atmospheric pressure change that may sound like a weather alert if decreasing in value. Inside the net pouch of the backpack, I insert a Ziploc bag containing few essential first aid items that are: one roll of bandages plus 1 yard of elastic net to fix the cloth, 6 medium and large band-aids, 3 medium-sized gauge pads, 2 cotton balls also useful as fire starter, 1 tourniquet, 3 pills of painkiller or analgesic, 3 pills of cortisone. Before carry and use any drug, ask to your doctor. If you follow a specific therapy, be sure to carry the drug you need to cover 1 day. And like always, thanks for watching. I'll be back with a new video as soon as I can.